Hello everyone, I'm Dr. M, welcome to VMC. Today we are tackling a tiny but incredibly pesky topic. We're going to cover fleas and flea infestations. These tiny creatures are responsible for causing huge discomfort for our pets as well as creating quite a frustrating situation within our homes. So in this video we're going to cover everything that you need to know about fleas, what they are, how we prevent them, how we deal with them once they're already in our homes, and more. So join me. You'll learn something today. So fleas are small, wingless creatures, and they live on both birds and all different species of mammals. And frustratingly, they are the most common external parasite for our cats and for our dogs. They're notorious because they bite and then feed on the blood of our pets, and this causes immense itching and discomfort for our pets. Beyond just being a nuisance, fleas can cause skin infections, allergic reactions, they can transmit diseases, and if your pet ends up ingesting one, they will cause your pet to also have tapeworms. There are more than 2,500 species of fleas that we know about worldwide. In the US, there's about 300 species, but there are only a handful that really cause problems for people. Most commonly, we are dealing with the cat and the dog specific fleas. Now, fleas do tend to prefer their specific animal species host. Say it's a cat flea and they're unable to find a cat, they will then latch onto a dog or even a person if they're unable to find their host of choice. Adult fleas find hosts by detecting the warmth of the person or vibrations or CO2 from exhalations, and then the flea will feed on the blood, and they will also produce fecal material, which people often refer to as flea dirt. Yeah, that's not dirt, that's flea poop. In order to understand why we treat fleas in the way that we do need to briefly understand their life cycle. In a single day, an adult female flea can lay 40 to 50 eggs in one day. One flea. Ooh. So many. So even if there's only one flea that finds your pet or a couple that find your pet, it can quickly become a full-blown infestation in your home. And this is even more frustrating because it's also possible that since only the adults live on our pets, there can be a lot of fleas present in your home, but no adults visible yet on your pet. So after finding a host, adult fleas will take a blood meal and then they will mate and start laying eggs. The eggs will be laid into the fur of the host or hair of the host, but they might also be laid in the environment, and the eggs will easily slide off of the host and into the environment as well. The eggs will take somewhere between 1 and 10 days to hatch, and this depends on humidity and temperature. After they've hatched, you now have a larval stage of the flea. The larvae are free moving and they will feed on that flea dirt in order to help themselves grow and develop. Within 5 to 20 days of feeding on some of the flea dirt, the larva will spin a cocoon and enter into the pupae stage. The cocoon protects pupa from things like insecticides or temperature fluctuations so that the pupa can remain alive and survive these sorts of events. They can remain undisturbed for weeks or even months. The adult flea will not emerge from the cocoon until it detects that there is a host nearby. And the adult female fleas will begin feeding on that host to get a blood meal within a few hours of coming out of their cocoon. After this, they mate again and they start laying more eggs, and the life cycle continues. So how do most of our pets even get fleas in the first place? Fleas are quite tenacious and resourceful in finding hosts. Most often, your pet will come into contact with fleas outside in a warm or humid environment, but it's also possible that they might come into contact with some flea eggs that have been brought inside the house at some point as humans or animals go in or out. It's also possible that they can get fleas from contact with other animals or from even being in other environments where fleas were present. And once a single flea is on your pet, that's all it takes to start an infestation in your home. There are some classic signs and symptoms to watch out for that we'll see very commonly when an animal has fleas. What bothers people the most is often that the pet will be biting or scratching at their skin. You might also see red skin or thinning of their fur or hair. You might also see specks of dirt, which, as we mentioned, is actually the poop from the fleas. And most of the symptoms that we'll see tend to be more focused towards the back end of the pet. So down their back, around their tail base, and also in the pelvic limbs in the area that we call their pants. But you can also sometimes see symptoms in necks, like neck folds or along the belly. But again, that concentration around the back end is kind of a classic flea presentation. Now you'll know if you've followed Vet Med Corner for any period of time that I am all about prevention, and this is a true situation where prevention is far better than having to deal with a flea infestation. So having your pet on prescription flea prevention is absolutely key, and this goes for all of the animals that are in your house. Now we have a number of different products these days. There are some collars, there are topicals, there are oral medications. There are even a couple of over-the-counter products that might be helpful, like Revolution or Seresto collars. Now you need to be forewarned that there is some localized resistance to some of these products in some flea populations. So it is important that you contact your vet clinic and say, hey, which product should I be considering for my individual pet in this geographical location? Because the precise products we use will vary a little bit depending on where you are and what your pet's lifestyle is, what their medical history is, and so on. Now I have covered this Resto collar in more detail in a previous video. I'll make sure to link that in the description. And I've also covered some things that absolutely do not work, like diatomaceous earth and essential oils and other nonsense that you can find online that's not appropriate or acceptable to use. And I'll make sure to link those in the description as well. It can also be helpful to be brushing your pets regularly. This will help you to catch any changes to their coat or skin health as early as possible, and the earlier we can get started on changing things if we need to, the better for our pets. I also want to put a note here that it is never appropriate to use permethrin products on or around a cat. It's very dangerous for them. And I also want to put a little note here that I will regularly see people who have tried parts products, that they will come in and that their animal is having significant side effects from that particular over-the-counter option. So I would steer clear of those at all times. Please contact your vet clinic, talk to them about your specific animal, and get their advice. Now let's say you're coming across this video because unfortunately you already have found fleas on your pet or have fleas in your home. So let's cover what you need to do in this situation. If you've even found one flea on your animal, that means that there are a lot of them in your home environment, unfortunately. What we need to remember is that removing fleas from the environment takes conscientious effort for at least 3 consecutive months. For those months, it will be absolutely crucial that you are perfect on the prevention that you're using for all of the animals that are in your home. There will also be a couple of steps that you will need to do for your home itself. So first, get all of the animals within your home on prescription flea prevention. Second, you're going to tackle some cleaning. This means washing all bedding, all rugs, all pet beds. If you cannot wash it, you will need to get rid of it. You will also need to thoroughly vacuum and sweep all of the floors in your home. You need to especially focus along the edges of the walls, as that's a nice little crevice for cocoons to sit. You may also want to talk to a licensed pest control service and see if they recommend doing any sort of home treatment or not. This may depend on how severe the house infestation is, and these people can help you to determine if there's a product that should be used in the home environment or if there's things that you should be addressing in your yard to make it less attractive for fleas to try to reproduce. Unfortunately, you are going to have to keep up with the washing of the bedding and the pet beds and the rugs and keeping up with the vacuuming and the sweeping so often near daily if possible for the entire 3 months that we are working to get rid of the fleas from in your home. And the reason that it takes this long is because there are going to be fleas in all stages of their life cycle, and as new cocoons hatch new adult fleas, you're going to have to get rid of those ones and try to prevent new larvae from being formed. It's very frustrating and there is no real quick solve to this. Remember that if you've been using over-the-counter products and you're still finding fleas, then you may require prescription grade products from your veterinarian. Also remember that it's possible for animals to have such irritated skin that they get secondary infections, and your veterinarian should be checking for those and may need to prescribe medications to help control itch and to help get rid of any secondary infections that are present. It's also important to remember to treat your pets for tapeworms if there have been fleas on them. Just as some final thoughts, it is just very important to be very consistent with flea prevention. That really is the best option. Set reminders on your calendar, on your phone, whatever you need to do to make sure that you aren't late with your pet's flea medications. Depending on where you live, you may need to use these flea preventions year-round. There are some places where it does get cold enough for long enough in the winter that we may not need to use year-round prevention, but in a lot of places it is necessary. Stay vigilant, and if you notice the slightest starting of a flea issue, be sure to act on it very promptly in order to prevent a full-blown infestation as much as you possibly can. Thank you so very much for joining me today, and I hope that if you have a topic you'd like me to cover in the future, please leave that as a comment down below. If you've ever dealt with a flea infestation and want to comment about how long it took you to fully get rid of it, I'd love to hear from you as well. It may help other people to understand that they're not alone in this being a multi-month process. That's very normal. I hope that you and your pets stay happy and healthy until I see you in the next video, and YouTube thinks you'll like this video. Okay, have a great day. Bye. Your pets do count on you to keep them comfortable and safe, and flea prevention is a very important part of that.